I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
I'm gonna get a passion fruit. Let's do the dry chocolate passion. Which one's popular? Which is popular?
Everyone come and get one. Right up that chocolate. Wow.
So, Bilbao is fucking beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, going there I had virtually zero expectations as to what it would look like or if it would be anything special, really full stop. But virtually as soon as we arrived in our Airbnb, the architecture and just the overall vibe is honestly something else. It was as though almost around every corner, these nice dark alleyways and people out and about just drinking and smoking, and the whole vibe of the city is just really, really cool and so different. Yeah, honestly, just ended up having a super good time there, and we were only there for 2 nights, but I definitely think I might go back. However, what certainly is not quite as beautiful is 8 hours of travel on the road. So unfortunately, a 6-hour trip from Bilbao to Vigo, which is inside of Spain, and then from Vigo to Porto, which took another 3 hours. To say it was unpleasant would be a massive understatement. And to finalise this update of where I am now, Porto was pretty beautiful. I was there for 2 days, so I'll show some footage from over there throughout this. And then we were only there for a night, unfortunately, and currently we are now in Lisbon, Portugal, which is also super nice, and you should be able to see a little bit of the city behind me. And yeah, apologies if the audio isn't overly fantastic. So, although we have made it here in the end, on that topic of car rides and just travel in general, it seems as though throughout history, whenever my family has been in a car for usually longer than an hour or two, that is typically a recipe for disaster, and our unfiltered colours, let's say, tend to shine through. It becomes confrontational and argumentative and just pretty nasty in general very fast. By the end of the trip, we're all lovey-dovey and happy and good again, but while it's happening, it's typically a very stressful experience. Just the Chalmers household, I'd say, is just more full-on, and I don't know the best word to describe it. Yeah, definitely a lot more out there than your standard household. None of us are afraid to just go and roast and confront the other person in the family, and just pretty much we all tend to just cut the shit a little bit, and probably a little bit too much. So whereas maybe in other family car trips, members would attempt to possibly diffuse the situation if, you know, someone like took us down the wrong road, or if someone was being a little bit of a dickhead, as was often the case, you know, they'd try and just, for the good of the family peace, diffuse it, move past it, and yeah, it's all good. However, no, with us, we just prefer to, you know, put a little bit more gas onto the fire, and well, then you very much see the fireworks. Now, each time these fireworks happen and we end up just being in a really shitty, aggressive, and just, oh, it's just a horrible place to be. every time it happens, it makes me wonder, like, why is this the case, and what does this dynamic we have in the car, but just more specifically at home, where we're not afraid of being judged by the other person, and we're all just very much ourselves. Why is it that it is? My dad is probably the loudest and just most outrageous person you've ever met, and my mum might come second behind. Myself and my sister are relatively close, but although it's hard to kind of explain, we all just have very strong personalities. It's as though, rather than ever bringing us up with really strict rules and disciplining us and doing the normal things that parents would, although they did do a little bit of that, admittedly, they instead took the approach to bring us up as immediately their friends. And so from a very young age, rather than seeing my mum and my dad as my parent and someone who is in control of me and has the authority, I was more on level terms with them, and I saw them more as a friend than anything. Now, this approach has most certainly its pros and its cons, and something that my dad's always told me is that there really is no right way of parenting. You're always just learning, and as long as you're continually just adapting and then trying to find out which is the best way for you, then, well, that's as good as it gets. However, with this specific, slightly probably unorthodox approach that my parents employed, like I said, both myself and Rachel really see our mum and dad as two of our best friends and people we could honestly talk to about absolutely anything in the world, and yeah, just like two of our good mates. And I suspect that because of this, in the long term, we'll be in better stead to really sustain that really strong relationship and just be more of a tight-knit family for life. However, on the converse side of things, scenarios like the car ride are probably what I'd consider to be the con of this approach, because rather than seeing our parents as people who we shouldn't be arguing with and should certainly not swear at, which no, of course we would never do, rather than seeing them these authority figures, we seemingly are self-entitled to be able to stand up to them and like have these arguments, and in our family it's as though no one is better than another person, which, to be honest, probably shouldn't be the exact case, because at least if I was to have kids, I certainly wouldn't want my kids from the ages of 12 onwards to be thinking that they have just as much power as I do, which in hindsight, that was probably been the scenario in our household. Rather than having that filter to stop you from going and getting angry at your parents because you might face some bad consequences, that filter kind of isn't really there, it seems like, for us, and that's at least what it felt like. So we'd never really be afraid to confront them and stand up to them. And like I said, I'm not sure whether that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I think it definitely has its mixed effects. Many of my friends and Izzy especially, I think, have taken some getting used to this in the household, because you'll often just be coming in and knocking on the door when there's an absolute World War III going on. But after being within it and maybe me explaining why it is the way it is, I think people begin to realise that it's just a little bit different. Yeah, so that was just something that I've been thinking about recently, and I thought I would blurt it out to the camera. But anyway, besides that, the travel is going really well, and the family is in good spirits, even though car trips can be a little bit tense. And we head off to Greece tonight, to Mykonos, so I guess I'll see you then, and you might see a little bit of footage from both Lisbon and Greece, and yeah, who knows. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and see you next week. Cheers.